Professor Trevor Munroe, thanks for staying with us for part 2 of our 2-part interview. Last week we ended by talking a little bit about the 1960s, moving into university life there, and the sort of advocacy at the time that young people were displaying, and the group of young people who were helping to change things, who were protesting, who were partying at the same time, but also protesting
and doing their work too,
and doing their work at the same time. But I kind of wonder about that from how you look at what's happening now at the university from that kind of vantage point, because it seems much tamer.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And time and things change. Societies develop in cycles. Jamaicans were relatively passive in the 1920s and 30s, so much so that Marcus Garvey left Jamaica a disappointed man, feeling that we were just putting up with too much. Little did he know that the cycle was about to end, and in 1938, our people just rose up and said, this is enough, we need a change. And
it's the 38 riots.
There you go. When parties and trade unions were formed, and civil society organizations like the Citizens Federation of Jamaica were born, etc. And so we entered into another period after that in the 1950s, going into the early 60s, of our people being relatively quiet, taking things, putting up with what was going on that was wrong. And then in the late 60s, this time triggered by our university students in 1968 in October, when the UWI students protested against the government's banning of Dr. Walter Rodney. Another period of ferment and change opened up, whereby young people and professionals and workers were very active. That's when we got maternity leave. Our women said, look, PNP women, JLP women, NOP women, said, look, we need to get maternity leave. We can't be risking our jobs when we get pregnant. And they got it in 1979. That's when workers got the right to form trade unions and to not be punished as a result of that, under the legislation of the day. That's when, by the way, and I keep reminding our students today, that's when our students in 1980 got the right, not by anybody's gift, but by their advocacy, to be represented on every single board of every educational institution, whether it's University of the West Indies or secondary institutions. Again, so that was another period of
ferment. Which is one of the things taken for granted nowadays.
Exactly. And that leads me to the talk about my interaction with students, which has been quite considerable with National Integrity Action, because we are partnered quite substantially with the Ministry of Education over the years to put on the National Youth Parliament of Jamaica, and also to have formed on the UTEC campus, UWI campus, and also Church Teachers College Integrity Action Movements, so-called IAMs. And what I found is that the students are very interested, but it's a minority at this point, very interested in how they got where they are and how do they move forward. The preoccupation, however, is with not taking too many risks. You don't want to risk getting that piece of paper, and therefore you have to do your work. And they're also afraid of pushback, victimization, which we had to face. Don't believe that this was, kind of things that you do and there was no consequences. In that context, of course, at Oxford University, after I got the Rhodes Scholarship.
So it's first class honors at the University of the West Indies.
Yeah.
Then the Rhodes Scholarship, which took you to Oxford University.
Sure. By the way, the interview of that was a memorable occasion for me, because it is the day before I was leading a demonstration in Kingston regarding Southern Rhodesia and the effort to declare apartheid there.